What's up? All right, so it's movie review time, and I just watched this movie called Deadly Sins. It's on Netflix, and it's a movie that was released this year, and right, so it's a movie about spoiler alert, okay? So anyone who has not watched the movie, do not watch the movie. Sorry, do not watch this video. Okay, right. All right. So the movie is called Deadly Illusions, and it's about split personality disorder. But basically, the storyline is that there's a family. She's a writer, Mary Morrison. She's an amazing writer, a thriller writer, basically, and she has a wonderful family, two kids, and a wonderful husband, and is living happily. But she has stopped writing. She used to write, but then she stopped writing because she gets into a turns into a completely different persona, and her her thought process is so vivid that it completely affects her real life, and she is unable to uh, differentiate between the reality and her thoughts. So she stopped writing, which that was the reason. So his her publishers come up to her to propose a plan to write another book, the end of the series, or a continuation of a series, basically, the uh, series that she had earlier. So she denies it, but then her husband messes up something, like he does some kind of trade of half their reserve amount, and the amount that she was supposed to get for the book was about $2 million or something. So which is why she took the job, so that as her husband messed up, so she starts writing. Okay, she wants to start writing. Not once, she has to start writing, basically. And so her best friend Elaine, who was also her therapist, but we get to know about that later on. And she suggests that she could go to this agency for babysitters, and they hire only the best ones, and everything is cool and everything. So she does that. She checks them out, though she is hesitant about it because she's not sure if anyone will be able to take care of her kids as well as she does. All right, so um, she looks at some babysitters, but she does not like anyone. And then there's this girl comes who, her name is Grace, and she really likes her. Like, she likes boys. She's a bit reserved, shy, um, and but she was smart. Seemed smart, and Mary really liked her. So she decided to try her out for a week, and she was amazing. She was absolutely amazing with the kids, with Mary. So she starts to write, and there's some illusions that she starts dreaming. She's not sure that it's happening in real, but then slowly and slowly, we get to know that she is messing around with Grace. So Grace is telling that she loves her and everything. And there are scenes that they make out and everything. And she draws up a bath for her, takes care of her, uh, does all the house errands, is always like a happy to help kind of person. And then later on, we see a part of her, of Grace, a dominant personality. It's very confusing. At that point of time, we did not know that she has split personality, though. So with her husband, she seduced him, whose name is Tom, and sorry about that. Right. So with Tom, when he is the, what do you call that? I can't remember the word. Uh, dominant. Dominant. What is the opposite of dominant? I can't remember. Oh my god. Submissive, right, right. All right. So we see a dominant side of her with Tom. And so at that point of time, Mary is actually sleeping, and she hears some noise, sounds of Tom and Grace moaning. She goes out of her bed, comes out of her bedroom, and to see in the kitchen that they are in a compromising position, basically. And she faints. She was Then she wakes up. She is on her bed. She thinks it's a nightmare, and she throws a fit, basically. And everyone is like, "It did not happen. What exactly are you talking about?" And after that, slowly, not slowly exactly, after that, the story starts actually unfolding. So something now, after a few weeks, something happens, what which is that Mary, she wakes up in the middle of the night at about 1 in the morning, and Tom is sleeping beside her. She gets up, opens a cigar box where there is no cigar, and she remembers that a cigar, Grace was smoking the cigar. And she then goes to her writing room, and because the light was on but no one was there, and she comes back to sleep. But the next day, she goes to her best friend to tell her about all of these stuff, and sees that she's dead. She calls 911, and the police suspects her because the fingerprint on the scissors, her best friend was stabbed in her neck here, right here, and there were her fingerprints were there. And during the night that she was away for 3 hours around, that Tom said she was away for 3 hours, when she said that she just went out of the bedroom to smoke and saw the lights in the room, writing room on, and came back to sleep. But she was apparently away for 3 hours. So if the police suspect her, and what she does is she tells Tom about it, that something like that happened. She did not go visit Elaine, and there is a video, a surveillance camera video, that shows that she went to Elaine, but she was wearing a scarf and one glasses that really did not cannot really we cannot prove that it was her. It was her clothes. The evidence that was pointing towards her was only the uh, scissors. And there was this another scene prior to that, when Grace and Mary went to the riverside, and the tires were slashed, which had her fingerprint on the bullet knife that slashed the tires. So, like this, the evidence were pointing towards her. So she gets out of the police station because there is not enough evidence to hold her in yet. And she goes to her hometown, Grace's hometown, and finds out that she was a trouble kid. Basically, she was one of the kids of the parents who went to jail. The parents went to jail because the parents starved their kids and tortured them. Um, so she gets to know about all of this. So when she comes back, she is extremely worried what's going on, and she calls Tom, but Tom does not pick up. She was basically trying to tell him that don't let Grace in. At that point of time, we are the what we are seeing watching is that Tom is at home. The kids are playing in their room, and uh, Tom is taking a shower. Grace comes in her the other personality, the dominant one, whose name is actually Margaret. And then she tries to attack Tom. So she has this huge knife and she slashes him. And then Mary comes in, and then she turns to Grace, and she basically, Mary is like asking her to call 911, and she's doing it. She calls 911, and then she again turns into Margaret, and there's a confusion going on. Like, what if she's trying to put Margaret away to replace her, and to keep let her go completely so that she can be Grace only without being Margaret. And So they start to fight. Mary starts to run, and when Margaret is trying to kill Mary, she is the switching the switching is going on. Is Grace is trying to take over, then Margaret is trying to take over, and then there's this vase that Mary picks up and bashes on Grace's head. So that's there. Stop. Khatam. Okay. Then we see a year later, what happens is that Mary and Tom, and they're all happy. They're playing in their backyard, and everything is cool. Then the movie ends like this: that Mary is going to Elaine's grave, and she is writing something. So she puts the draft near her graveyard and put flowers there. Then she visits a care facility. So she meets Grace there, and they play cards, and she got brought books for her. And how the movie ends was really off, not exactly off-putting, but it does not really tell us how who exactly gets out, because when the movie ends, the lady who is coming out of the care facility could be Grace, or it could be Mary, because the scene that we saw from the surveillance camera when Elaine died, it was the same. She was wearing the scarf and sunglasses and the coat. So we do not really know if it was Grace or it was Mary. So, so I'm like, who actually gets out? If she actually kills Mary and Margaret comes out of the care facility, or Grace is there and everything is happy and she's in the care facility, and her personality is in, like, the Grace is the dominant personality instead of Margaret, and Mary actually comes out. So I'm like, I want to know what actually happens, but I'm like, maybe I don't think there will be a second part, because there's nothing, no storyline for the second part, and this is not something that could continue. So we are like left in that confusion that who actually got out of the care facility. I'm like so curious about it, if Mary died or not, and if Grace got out of it and Margaret took over. Oh dear. So basically, I loved the movie. It was very nice, and I think it was very well made. And I mean, they could have portrayed the split personality a bit better, maybe. I don't know. I have watched a few videos. I cannot really uh, put my how do I say this? I cannot vouch for this or something like that, because I'm not a professional. But as sorry, I have watched some videos about split personality, and they do not really switch like that the way it showed in the movie. So it's a dramatic version of it. So, but it was a very nice movie. How the uh, Grace's childhood has affected her personality, the split, and the similarities when Mary goes to her hometown where she belongs, and she finds out about her. Finds out the similarity between Margaret when she saw Tom and Grace having sex in the kitchen, and she sees the similarities, and she's convinced at that point of time that it is Grace who is doing all of these stuff, and how she's manipulated everyone. Like, not exactly Grace but Margaret, but she did not know at that point of time. um, and it's just so sad how a child can be so not disturbed exactly, but broken, because her personalities got broken, right? Because she had to have some kind of armor to protect herself when she was being tortured. Like, it did not show us how she was being tortured. There was just one scene, as a very small scene, where it showed that Grace, she was with this boy in a locked room, in a small room, where the boy was holding a packet which had some kind of food, probably, and Grace was reading, and the boy is telling her to play and be Margaret. That's it. That is what we saw from her childhood, and we do not know anything else about her. So that is the only snippet and the news articles and what her aunt told Mary when she went to her hometown. So it's just so sad that how the parents did something like that to the kids, and how her future, how her personality got shaped because of that. It's because this is a dramatic version of the disorder, and obviously this happens in real life and worse situation happens. So kids, to cope up with the violence or disturbing situation, they create another personality which becomes the armor to get out of the bad situation. And it is just awful, it's just awful. And it's I can't imagine how they go through all of this, because they are anyone, nobody in this whole goddamn world deserves to go through such a childhood and deserves parents like this. Because of them, I mean, I'm not saying that only parents, because of the situations the parents created, it has happened. Anything could have happened, like any disturbing situation. Because the split personality disorder, but the personalities get created when you are young. It does not happen to people who are older, because then by then we have a strong mechanism, defense mechanism, something like that. But as far as I know, for sure it happens when you are young. Uh, so it's just sad when something so disturbing happens to you in your childhood that you have to cope with the situation. You create an armor, and if it's something as bad as Margaret, then you are just fucked up for your entire life if you don't get the right help at right time. It's awful, because you have to live with it. If your personality makes it's dominant and makes a bad decision, you are the one. Basically, Grace has to live with that situation forever, because it will be in her conscience. So I really hope no one has to ever go through this situation ever. But again, things happen, I cannot change that, but I wish I could. So yeah, this is the end of the video. I don't know what else to say anymore. So, ciao.